Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism without economic power, political or geopolitical power, and military power is a vain enterprise. Pan-Africanism without economic, political, or geopolitical and military power is a vain enterprise. Pan-Africanism is a great concept in theory and if put into practice. Our forefathers or grandsestors, or foremothers or grandsesters, however you want to put them in terminology, those who came before us, saw this concept in theory and in practice as one of the greatest concepts that we should all adopt as African people. And I agree, I am in agreement. But Pan-Africanism without economic, political or geopolitical power and military power is a vain enterprise. Why am I saying that? I've had many conversations with African people across the world, here in the United States, even on the continent. A lot of people like the idea, some people don't. Some people have adopted the idea, some people have discarded it. Those who have discarded it have had and still have this notion about Pan-Africanism. They say if Pan-Africanism is so important of a concept, why are we still under forms of imperialistic regimes, neo-colonialistic regimes? Some are still being enslaved. Some are still going through some of the difficult periods of the past. And their argument is valid because on paper, in theory, Pan-Africanism sounds like the penultimate philosophy that we should all put into practice. But when you look at the concept itself and those who supposedly need to practice this, we fall short. Not all, but majority of people who profess this concept don't put it into practice. Facts. I am a firm, I don't want to say believer. I know the concept is valid and will work if put into practice. However, what I found out is those who disagree with the concept, their premise is this: why hasn't the Pan-African organizations or movement help us on the continent? Why haven't they come and rescue us from some of our plights? Ethnic wars, religious wars, you name it. And a lot of times I relate to what they're saying. Sometimes I disagree. My concept of Pan-Africanism is this: if you are not going to be economically powerful, geopolitically powerful, and military powerful, your Pan-Africanism concept is a waste of time. You need to have all three. Now, there are others, but these three should always stand. Apart from the education, the entertainment, the labor, the law, the healthcare, spirituality or religious concept, those are other additional tools that we need to implement. But these first three, from my frame of reasoning, I'm not saying anyone should adopt it, but this is my own frame of reasoning as a conscious, critical thinker. If we want Pan-Africanism to be seen as the light of our ideals and so-called belief systems, we need to have it practiced in such a way that people can resonate with it. Economic power has to be engaged. Political or geopolitical power needs to be infused. and military power or counter warfare power needs to be enforced. We cannot keep depending on outside forces, foreign investment clubs, multinationals to defend us. If we need help, if a powerful force were to come into Africa to invade us, we might get defeated very easily because we don't even make the weapons that we so supposedly have in our stockpiles. Facts. A lot of us so-called African nations, we go to other foreign nations, industrious or advanced nations, asking for them to send us some military equipment, tanks, armored cars, armored vehicles, choppers or helicopters, drones, and all, you name it. We don't build our own, and those who do build theirs, we still don't have enough to defend ourselves. I'm not saying Africa does not build some form of weaponry, but we are not at the level of these other advanced industrial nations. And that's not to say that that's an excuse. I'm just saying, pointing out a fact that if we want to be Pan-Africanism centered and follow this philosophy, we have to implement the tools we need to keep this concept alive, because a lot of people are now in disbelief. They don't see Pan-Africanism as the way, and everybody on the continent, every African nation on the continent, within those nations are nations themselves. The so-called tribes are not tribes, they are nations. Why? Because they have three things that makes a nation. They have a language, they have a custom or tradition, and they have land. And fourth, if you want to add the fourth, the people. Okay? So when you look at Pan-Africanism, the concept is great. In practice, we are lacking in the practical concept of it. Are all people lacking in the concept of it? No. Those who are practicing the Pan-Africanism ideal, or the concept, are doing the great work, but they're very small in number. A lot of people have doubts about the concept because they don't see Pan-Africanism helping them in areas of their needs. You see? So I just want to give this quick video. I'm not saying Pan-Africanism is bad. I'm not saying that it's not going to be fruitful. I'm not saying that Pan-Africanism is a concept that we should do away with. I'm not saying that Pan-Africanism is just a theory. I am saying this, however, in order for us to see that Pan-Africanism is the way for all African peoples on this planet to adopt, to practice, we need to see that at least these three areas are met. The economic part of it, how are people in Africa seeing their economics, the power of their labor? People need to be able to feed themselves. If they can't feed themselves, and you're talking about Pan-Africanism, okay, that's a great concept, but look, is this putting money in my pocket? Political or geopolitical power. If we are considered everywhere we go last, unproductive, unfavorable, always being ruled by others, that Pan-Africanism ideal diminishes. Point in question, not too long ago, when African nations were invited to come to a conference, they just packed them all in a bus like sardines, while other nations were driving in limousines and quality cars. That shows you how much people care about African people, or even see them as a unified group of people. Military power, can you defend yourself? Can you fight wars to defend yourself? Most nations who have the capability to do so, they rule. They command their borders. They command their territory. That's why I'm one of my favorite African leaders right now, hate him or love him, hate him or love him, hate him or love him, is Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso. Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso, one of my favorite African leaders. For me, he is the 21st century African liberated mind that we all need to support, back, finance, and emulate his ideals. Maybe not all of them, but some of them that he's doing that is making a difference on the African continent. I'm just saying, take it or leave it. Enough talk. Let's get to work. We must be able to provide for our people in all areas of people's activities in the order of economics, education, entertainment, healthcare, labor, law, politics, religion or sexuality, religion or spirituality, sexuality or sex, however you want to put it, warfare or counter warfare. If all of these areas are not met, other other so-called powerful people will use their influence and broadcasting mechanisms or media propaganda channels to influence us. And so far, they have done this many times, and what has happened? We have been seen as second class, third class, fourth class, even fifth class citizens because we don't control our image or narratives. That must change. It is changing because now we're seeing the likes of Wodemaya, the likes of many other YouTube content creators who are promoting Africa in a great positive light. So let's go out and be great, because greatness, power, and energy lives within our essence. We came here to live our best life. Let's support one another. Let's uplift one another. Let's create justice on this planet. Justice is what we need. We need to become our greatest versions. We need to work together. We need to unify and make Africa greatest again. One Africa, one people, one goal, one mission, one vision. On to the next one.